Hi folks. Most common sense people nowadays think of The View as one of the worst programs on television. It's low IQ, it's dishonest, filled with misinformation, and highly biased. The show presents no difference of perspective or actual debate. It's just the appearance of it through a carefully crafted echo chamber with the ultimate goal of shaping their audience's worldview and, in turn, their voting habits to align with a perspective mainstreamed by ABC and its affiliate networks, a perspective that's also shared by the majority of cable news networks as well. All in all, The View is a dinosaur, a melodramatic, self-appointed news and current event show that leans more on the drama between the hosts than any sort of substantive conversation. Case in point, the classic feuds between liberal white woman Rosie O'Donnell, often presented with a patina of heroism, and Elizabeth Hasselbeck, the conservative, often presented as out of touch with reality and who routinely received rhetorical punishment by the women at the table for a gladiator-like enjoyment of an audience of bored housewives. With all that taken into account, it's not surprising that a current host of The View would lean on fabricated histrionics to purport herself as a victim in the aftermath of an election that left her deeply disappointed that her blank slate of a politician, Kamala Harris, didn't win. I'm obviously talking about Whoopi Goldberg, who recently said this on the show.
My birthday dessert today was one of my mom's favorites from when she was a kid. And she talked about these all the time. They're called Charlotte Russe. And it's a sponge cake with whipped cream and a cherry on top. Now, I should tell you, Charlotte Russe has no political leanings. And the place that made these refused to make them for me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What? Oh.
No. Let me explain. They said that their ovens had gone down, all kinds of stuff, but folks went and got them anyway, which is why I'm not telling you who made them. But can't be because I'm a woman, but perhaps they did not like my politics.
Yeah.
What kind of world are we living in, folks, where Whoopi Goldberg is being discriminated against because of her political opinions? She can't even continue to fatten herself into a whale like Lizzo. It is unbelievable that this is the world that we live in. And all sarcasm aside, I'm not buying it. I don't know if you bought it, but I'm not buying it. And there's a whole hell of a lot more to the story because, first off, one of the things you'll notice is one of the guests spit out the cupcake, sign of disgust and support to her fellow friend at the table. And I point the fact that these women are on a nationally broadcast show that goes out to millions of people, and Whoopi's making these statements with full conviction. Now, even though Whoopi didn't say where the cupcakes were from, internet sleuths ended up finding out what that store was. And they identified the store through the wrapper on the cupcakes. It's a Staten Island bakery named Halterman's. It's been around for about 140 years. And needless to say, Whoopi pulled a Jussie Smollett. In other words, she lied.
Frankly, the people who defamed the Halterman family should apologize to the Halterman family for making stuff up to suit their needs. Not everybody wakes up every day and thinks about politics. A good business person doesn't care about anybody's politics. So with that, I'd like to call up Jill Halterman Bowers. She deserves 110% support. Jill, come on.
It's a community that I have to tell you, I'm so overwhelmed by the support between finding out yesterday this even happened, getting phone calls, and then people coming in, people from all over just supporting us in every way. We had phone calls yesterday from Alabama. Guy says, I'm going to give you $50, send it to a school, send them donuts, send them cupcakes. The support has been so overwhelming, and I know how hard my family has worked to keep this business alive, and I wish my father was here today to see this. He would never believe it. My bakers come in 2 or 3 in the morning just to have donuts and rolls for everybody to come in and say, we have the best rolls ever. And you know what? It took my whole family. It takes everybody, the community that comes every day to see us. We have this everyday conversation with everybody. How's the family? How's this? This is what makes Halterman's Halterman's. It's the community. It's my fellow everything that come out and us giving back to the community that makes this go round. And if it wasn't for you and Staten Island to make this work, we still wouldn't be here today. So I know my brother, Billy, work hard. Joe, my baker in the back, is here 6 days a week. He gives his heart and soul to this place. And you know what? My father always said, you do what you love. I'm telling you, this is my heart. And I thank you so much for everybody to come out and support us with the Halterman family. It means the world to me. It really does. Thank you so much. Oh, I wish my father was here today.
Oh, good, Jill. Oh, good. So good. The goodness prevails. And just a little background for those who know, they had a boiler here. Again, it's been here 145 years. They had a boiler that was 60 or 70 years old. And the first week in November, guess what? It went on the fritz. They had to be replaced. And the reputation of Halterman's is impeccable, so rather than commit to something they couldn't guarantee, they said we can't do it. And the person who besmirched and defamed them took that as an insult to her. Well, get over it. This family will be here for, God willing, another 145 years. And as Jill said, it's her family, it's the Staten Island community, it's the elected officials. And I hope if you're watching this across the country, go online and order something and we'll mail it to you.
So as you saw, the issue was that they had this 60-year-old boiler that went out, and they didn't want to commit to an order that they feared they wouldn't be able to make good on, which is understandable when you run a business. You're not going to make a promise that you can't keep because that hurts your reputation. In this day and age, that's ultimately all you have, your reputation, your good name, and they told her the reason. Whoopi ended up assuming that the reason was because of her political leanings. So she injected her victim mentality into the reason as to why they couldn't provide her with a product that she wanted. She ended up getting the product anyway. If you ended up getting the product, why go out of your way to defame a business and put out there such great assumptions about the people who run this business, assuming that they're liars and that they discriminate against people for their political opinions? There are several things happening here, folks. First of all, Whoopi's operating within this world that she lives in. She sees everything through the prism of politics, and she has the expectation that everybody else is going to see it that way. The vast majority of Americans don't see it that way. I would go as far to say that there's a large percentage of people in this country that don't even think about politics, maybe not even once a week, and that's perfectly normal. That's how they choose to live their lives, and that's their choice. That's their lifestyle, and it's respectable. To place your political beliefs and assumptions on somebody because they told you they can't provide you a service, it just reads like, it reads very schizo. It really does. And it goes contrary to something that Whoopi was just saying a few days ago. She was claiming to be working class. She said she's working class. Whoopi, folks, who is estimated to have a net worth higher than $60 million, be making anywhere between $3 to $5 million a year, is working class. And here she is slandering a business in Staten Island where people are getting up at 3 or 4 in the morning so they can go and prepare a bunch of baked goods so that people can enjoy it in their mornings. That is the definition of working class. Halterman's is a definition of working class, and the reason why Whoopi has the luxury of assuming that they wouldn't provide her a service because of her political opinions is because she has a luxury of doing something like that, because she's rich. She's basically a mouthpiece for a propaganda arm for state television, and that obviously comes with a high degree of financial security. Now, Whoopi ended up responding to the owner. She doubled down.
So there seems to be a lot of talk about the dessert I requested for my birthday show. I never mentioned the name of the bakery or the location. It does seem a little odd that when we called a few weeks before my birthday and we were told they couldn't process the order for my birthday because of an equipment failure, but somehow they were able to accept an order of a different 48 of the same dessert when somebody else called without using my name. But it's all okay, y'all, because I enjoyed my delicious dessert and I had a happy, sweet birthday. Nothing better than that.
So she's doubling down without providing any sort of transparency as far as the timeline of that second order coming in. She said a few weeks before her birthday, and then somebody called. When did they call? Was it a day later, a couple of days later? Did you just decide to Jussie Smollett this whole situation so that you can make yourself look like a victim because it pays to make yourself look like a victim when you're a liberal? You just get that empathy from everybody who automatically likes to see anybody who doesn't align with your perspective as an evil villain who's representing the fascists. What else can we expect from a host from The View? They are liars or purveyors of disinformation. They have been lying this entire time about Trump's policies. They've been questioning why the working class would ever vote for Trump, proving they don't understand the American working class. They don't want to understand them. They hate them. They've been calling Trump voters racists, misogynists, and just fascists, Nazis. Like, they've been getting the Democrat rhetoric and just been heightening it to the nth degree and villainizing anybody on that side to applause breaks, constant applause breaks, and any sort of pushback that you get on that show, and it's very little. You get battered by literally every woman on that table. So again, it's not a surprise that Whoopi Goldberg would commit herself to pulling a stunt like this and feeding into this level of histrionics, because she stands to benefit. Because in the intersectional pyramid, as Ben Shapiro often has outlined on his show, she's at the very top. She is a black woman who may be a lesbian, maybe she's bi. I don't know. I've heard different things about all that, which is why I question if she's actually in the 4B movement, but that's none of my business. Wouldn't even want it to be my business. So she ranks relatively high in the oppression scale. So anything that comes out of her mouth, all of the virtue signaling, I want to gain favor with the morally righteous people on my side of the aisle, white women, will fall in line and say, oh my God, this world is so evil. They're just looking for an excuse to assert that they are good people by essentially gaining the favor of the people that are set to be highest in the pyramid. See, this is the problem with secularism, with essentially making your political beliefs your religion. You end up opening yourself up to demagogues and charlatans like Whoopi Goldberg, who are just looking for opportunities to emotionally manipulate you into believing that anybody who isn't on your side of the aisle is evil, into believing that they are victims, that you are a victim, that everybody is bad except you. This is what happens when you don't place your morality on religion. A lot of people say that the founders created this country to be a secular, a-religious country, that it's in the First Amendment of the Constitution, the separation of church and state. First off, the framers of the Constitution were largely Christians. The Constitution itself is largely based on Christian ideology. The idea of freedom in the way it's presented in the Constitution is a Christian idea of freedom. The fact that the Constitution exists to protect you from the government and the excesses of the government, that it goes off of the supposition that the freedoms that you have, you essentially earn from birth because they are unalienable. They're God-given rights. The freedom of speech, the right to defend yourself, the right to worship however you'd like, all of that is God-given. And when you stray away from God, you move closer to pride and you move closer to self-destruction. Whenever I look over to the Democrat side, that's all I see. I see a party that is intent on destroying the fabric of this country, that is focused on undoing communities, undoing the familial bonds that have made this country so strong, with rhetoric like, if you don't agree with the political opinions of your family members, disown them. Don't talk to them. Cut them out. It's basically the Marxist deconstruction of the unspoken societal institutions that have made this country so prosperous. And the only people who stand to benefit from this are people like Whoopi Goldberg, who want this system toppled so they can put themselves at the top. In the words of John Lennon, when he was asked in the late 60s, I think about a year or two before he was murdered, if I remember this correctly, the timeline correctly, he was asked by somebody about the Marxists and the movements that were happening at the time, and he said, well, a lot of these revolutionaries only want a revolution because they want to tip the scales of power and remove whoever's in power so they can be the ones in power. That's ultimately what it comes down to. And at the end of the day, you have to think, is it better to live in a flawed, egalitarian society where there is a fabric of community and everybody's working together towards a common goal? Or is it better to live in a society that rewards the loudest, most self-serving narcissists who are only motivated by career opportunity? You tell me in the comments down below. Hope you have a terrific day. Peace.